This is day one, cycling from Stellenbosch on the, what's the route to the Western Cape, north-east of Cape Town. We saw some strange safari animals 25k east of Stellenbosch. I had just got my bearings when we came across a troop of baboons heading towards us down the road. We had taken the Whale Coast route along the coast east of Cape Town, and even on day one we saw our first whale in the distance while cycling along the road. We got to Betty's Bay the first night, where we saw a wild African penguin colony. So now we're in Betty's Bay and we're off to see these African penguins, which are apparently just up here. The penguins are just round this corner apparently. Well, maybe a bit further. Our first two penguins. And then we saw lots more penguins. What you don't get on the camera is the awesome smell of penguin droppings. Stench. I did get some cute shots of wild baby penguins. And adult penguins trying to climb out of the sea against all the odds. Once they were out of the water, they took it easy. This morning we've come to the Harold Porter Garden, just past Betty's Bay, which is apparently in the most biodiverse place on the planet. This plant is called sugarbush and can be used as a natural sweetener. And I managed to find some protea in flower. These plants around here are called fynbos, which means Cape shrubland. The shrubland of the Cape, and it's so botanically rich. It has amazingly 9,000 species in it. Fynbos consists of unique, very diverse hardy plants which can tolerate poor soil and wind. The Western Cape is so windy, it's wise to check the wind direction before deciding which way round to do your cycle route. The next day we were off to Hermanus, where I was hoping to see whales. But cycling along the hard shoulder, I got something more than I bargained for. I saw it raise its head before it slithered off. A puff adder, no less, responsible for most fatal bites in Africa. And suddenly it was nowhere to be seen. This did freak me out a bit afterwards, and I got cautious about stepping off the hard shoulder onto the grass verge. We're here in Hermanus, which is the whale watching land capital of the world, and I've just missed 3 huge, massive, enormous right whales that were just right here in that bay while I put sun cream on my feet. But we were in fact in a lot of luck when we got to Hermanus on the south coast, east of Cape Town, even though it was November. The whales had been mating all summer and were just about to leave. Now we've just seen a tiny sighting of a whale tail fluke in the water, and we're going round here, this headland, to see if we can get a closer view. And we did get a close view of the whole tail of a whale which seemed to be suspended upside down. The whales come here to breed and raise their young from July until sometimes even November. These are southern right whales, which are recognised by these callosities on their heads, which look white due to large colonies of whale lice and barnacles. And they are called southern right whales because they were the right type of whale to hunt in whale hunting times. And this is because they are more likely to float than other species of whale when they are killed. If whales sank when they were harpooned during whaling, they could sometimes not be retrieved from the depths. Southern right whales were hunted savagely in the 18th and 19th centuries. I hadn't realised that as well as whale meat, blubber was also used to make things like soap. And sperm whales were even used for ambergris from their intestine to make perfume fixative, and spermaceti to make candles. In the evening I watched the whales head back out to sea from another headland, and then I got my best shot as two of them breached for me. We went inland for a bit, to the coast at Arniston. There was no hard shoulder the first 25k east of Hermanus, and later in the trip we had no hard shoulder 20k either side of Villiersdorp, but otherwise we did have hard shoulder the rest of the trip. After Arniston we went to Swellendam, which was a 100k cycle, and then up to Barrydale in the hills of the Little Karoo. Barrydale is a fun, quirky town on the Route 62, which runs through the Karoo and has a range of hip guest houses and eateries, where you can get Karoo oysters, which are apparently testicles, although I didn't try these. I also missed the famous Ronnie's sex shop, as this was our furthest point east, and from where we turned back west towards Montague. We were now definitely in wine country. And it was hot and dry, although could still be windy. We saw a family of cranes with their chicks from the road. And after Montague we even saw a couple of ostriches from the road, although they didn't do very much. We're just cycling along the main road now, the R60 from Montague on the way to Worcester, and we're going to Villiersdorp. It's quite a busy road, and we're just having lunch here now in this little lunch stop. And we did see a couple of ostriches, which seemed to be wild ostriches, just by the roadside, and baboons as usual. This was our longest day from Montague to Villiersdorp at 113k. So this here Coca-Cola, for cyclists is liquid gold. Liquid gold. Look how much we've got left though to last us the whole day. Look, only a third of a bottle to last 50 kilometres. How are we going to manage?
We'll somehow manage. Somehow. I don't know how.
After Villiersdorp we headed to Franschhoek. The weather in South Africa in November is not always sunny. Someone's put a bullet hole right, they've aimed their bullet right in the eye of the springbok. We've just spent an hour coming up a big hill, and behind me now you can see the vista with Franschhoek. In luxurious Franschhoek, I got to discard my cycle helmet and gloves and did my first wine tasting. So, we're here at a wine tasting, and this is the Dieu Don vineyard there. And what you do is you come in and you get a pencil and you tick with 4 or 6 wines. And then you just go up to the counter and she gives you them one at a time. the next day in Boschendale I got to go on a winemaking tour. I discovered that making wine is all about the correct temperature and how long the wine stays in the barrels. The grapes are moved along by this large screw, and a crisscross shaped device separates the stalks. The juice is churned over the skins for 5 to 10 days, although for rosé wine there must only be a maximum of 8 hours contact with the skins. A pneumatic press extracts the skins, and a huge sieve is used to remove the seeds. The wine must be then kept in barrels for at least 12 months, and these are kept below ground at a precise temperature. Barrels can be oak or steel, and the oak comes from Europe or America, as these trees are more slow growing, causing a thicker grain, which lasts longer without splitting. The duration in the barrels depends on the type of grape. My final wine tasting was at the very high-end De Laer vineyard at the end of our trip back near Stellenbosch. You can choose cheese or nibbles with your wines. The setting at De Laer is exquisite. So this is our next wine tasting at De Laer. This is very high-end. And all of that shot.
Delicious, delicious. Fine wine, fine cheese.
Sean, can you explain why you prefer Chardonnay to Chenin Blanc?
It's very hot. Yeah, it's very hard to say.
Oh, try.
I can't say. Built on treat.
I know the wine farm that does do a Viognier and Shiraz in the fed, which is 2 red varietals and a bit of white, but it's more than 5%.
It was the end of our trip, and we had to head back to Stellenbosch. I'd learnt a few things I didn't know about wine, and seen some great South African scenery and wildlife. And even the Cape cities themselves are full of fantastic Cape Dutch architecture and art.